Welcome to Courtney on Health, heard on malcolmpresents.com, a new internet streaming platform on a 24/7 basis. But right now we are recording the half-hour show. Take it away, Max.
Yep, here we go. So hi, Courtney, and hi, Malcolm, and welcome to Courtney on Health, a Zoomcast podcast series about how to get through these still COVID times. I can't wait to not say that. With tips on nutrition and exercise given by Courtney Gravenese, registered dietitian and Master of Science degree in nutrition and applied physiology. Courtney is an experienced nutritional and health consultant in the New York metro area and beyond, and will help guide you on a path to wellness and health. So today, Courtney's gonna give us some great tips on eating light on a hot summer's day and how to keep cool exercising as the sun beats down in the summer months. We had some warm weather here yesterday.
Sure did.
And I felt that. And your pets, there's a whole other show on that.
That's another one.
How to keep your pets okay in this weather. So Courtney, start us off with what foods are best to consume on a dog day afternoon, and what exercises are best to do when it's hot outside.
Yeah, sure. Well, I hope you both had a nice Memorial Day weekend. Everybody had a nice Memorial Day weekend. It was hotter than usual here. So I think this would be a good, as we kick off the unofficial start of summer, talking about ways to keep cool whilst eating, particularly exercising. I feel like now, Malcolm, I know the weather out there tends to be much more temperate, so you guys don't have these massive fluctuations that we typically do, but in the Northeast, this is when we all start to push out, right? We get outside a little bit more. So I thought it would be good to talk about types, certainly motivating people to exercise, and the types of things to look out for to stay safe as the temperature starts to rise.
Yeah, Los Angeles, we don't have the humidity that you guys have, and
Yeah,
I've run in both weathers where it's been humid back east in New York, and when I came here.
Yeah. So, and actually, you know what? That's a great segue for me, because I will, before we talk about the different foods and beverages, some people know this, maybe not, but our bodies have an amazing way to regulate our temperature so that it doesn't swing too high and it doesn't swing too low. And it's called perspiration, is particularly during the warmer months. And the reason why your comment about humidity, Malcolm, is particularly helpful is that, so our natural air conditioning, that perspiration, so sweat. Okay, your body gets hot, the normal response, and some people are bigger sweaters than others, not sweater material, sweaters than others, but we all have this amazing internal air conditioning unit that causes you to sweat. The sweat moves to the surface of your skin, because we got sweat glands, so many sweat glands all over the body, and in normal hot weather, hopefully not too humid, it evaporates. Now that evaporative nature is that internal air conditioning that helps keep us cool and keeps that body temperature from getting too hot. If it's too hot outside, in conjunction with humidity, that water's got nowhere to go. The air is so saturated with water already from being too humid. So that cooling system, that air conditioning system that we have, sometimes doesn't work as well. So we'll talk about exercise in a second, bit. But so generally, as the weather gets hotter, we really want to be cautious and aware of that humidity in terms of things we might want to modify and adjust, including things we're going to eat. So when you guys get hot, what kinds of foods do you migrate towards? Is there certain things you like?
Liquid.
I like iced sweet tea from sitting on the porch in my rocking chair.
Yeah, iced tea for me, for sure.
Actually, I don't like it sweetened. I actually drink it unsweetened.
And I'll tell you, when I remember when I was really running, and at the end of the run, and sweat it all out, in my mind was a big fat chocolate bar.
Oh God.
I mean, literally, I needed the sugar or something with sugar in it to give to my muscles so that they feel like they're not dead tired.
Well,
Courtney, do you, I'm sorry, do you, because we're speaking about liquids and, electrolytes, Gatorade, stuff like that. Do you, what's the deal on that in the summer months? And especially with sports teams and young kids? I mean,
yeah.
it has pros and cons, right?
Yeah, definitely. And let's skip ahead to that since you brought it up. So for most people, water is best under normal circumstances, right? But there is something called water intoxication. You guys ever heard of this? I know it sounds crazy.
It does. It sounds crazy.
And if I know this is going back, I think easily 8-10 years ago, where there was a radio show that they encouraged people who were listening, the listeners, to drink this insane amount of water. And long story less long, tragically, the woman who did this challenge passed away because she had water intoxication. Your body needs water. We're made up of a lot of water, but it doesn't like just free water. We need those electrolytes that you mentioned in there in order to be able to function. We need a little bit of sugar in there, Malcolm. So we need those things in order to function. And unfortunately, for people who are in particular exercising in extreme heat, if they're not replacing those electrolytes and just drinking regular water, they may be more susceptible to this, water intoxication. Maybe not as dramatic as unfortunate for that woman. She had heart failure, but you can have cramping, you can have, seizures, you can be, very rapidly go into from heat exhaustion to heat stroke. So, you want to be mindful of what type of exercise are you doing? I immediately think of August, at least here in the Northeast, because that's where think of your fall sports. So it's football, it's soccer, it's field hockey. There are others as well, but they're outside and they're in the peak heat. So you really have to be mindful of making sure that you're staying A, hydrated, but B, getting those electrolyte replacements. So it's important to make sure that that's part of the mix. People ask me a lot, like, can I make my own? Do I have to go the traditional sports drink, road pathway? And the short answer is no, of course not. You can make your own, but it is balanced in such a way so that there's just the right amount of, sodium, potassium, magnesium, a little bit of sugar in there. So it does take a lot of the guesswork out of the preparation. So can you make it yourself? Sure. Is it a lot easier just to go get one and just keep them? Definitely. And then, so we'll loop back to food now. So the interesting thing is temperature, right? When I asked you guys, I love lemony unsweetened iced tea. That's really sounds refreshing to me. But if you think about those things that really will cool the body best, keep that body cool, most people don't think of hot foods. But think back to the last time you all went to any hot climate, anywhere around the world. They drink hot tea. They have spicy foods. They haven't missed their science lesson, their entire lives and said, why don't I do that? They're drinking it because it makes perfect sense. The spice, the capsaicin, that's that spicy, that's the spice that's in, a lot of different peppers that create that heat, cause perspiration. Now, remember, we said your body's a fantastic air conditioning system. If you're perspiring more by having things like either hot, non-spicy foods or spicy foods, you're causing your body to perspire more. And what that does is it helps cool, you're pushing out the heat. So I get it. You don't want to go to the beach and say, let me have a warm cup of coffee. That's not normally what people are looking for, but don't shy away from it either. I'm a soup year-round eater. Some people are like, it's 90 degrees out. What are you doing drinking, eating soup for lunch? And it's not necessarily to keep me cooler, but it's because I enjoy it. And I guess now that I know that it might keep me cooler, I might migrate toward it a little bit more. But most people don't know that having those foods are actually going to help their internal air conditioning work a little bit better and will help them keep cooler in the long run.
How about a cooler soup like gazpacho that you can make a little spicy?
That's a great, so you got the spice, you got that
Right.
capsaicin in there, which will trigger that. And interesting enough, the spicy foods, so we have these, thermoregulators in our bodies, and the spicy foods trigger it more in your neck, your mantle, neck, and face area. So the next time you all are having something that's super spicy, either gazpacho or chili or whatever, monitor and see what happens. Chances are you're going to feel the heat more in your neck and head area versus if you have hot, like a hot bowl of regular soup, where you might feel it towards the regular rest of your body. So yeah, you can combine them all. And the reality is, whatever makes you feel more comfortable, the research that has looked closely at hot foods versus room temp food versus cold food, it exists. But the reality is, the most important thing is to stay well hydrated. For most of us, that means foods that contain a lot of fluid to them. So gazpacho, like you mentioned, Maxine, before, because it contains, tomatoes and celery is one of those wonderful cooling vegetables that we know, zucchini, cucumber, and obviously gazpacho contains all of those. So those are a lot of your cooler foods, like vegetables that people might think of. Chopped salads from fruit, and any fruit will work, because fruit, as you all know, particularly things like berries, melon, watermelon, are mostly water. So it contributes
Watermelon
to
and
hydration.
oranges.
Yeah, and that's obviously got a good punch of vitamin C to it. So, we're moving into, fortunately, this amazing, produce season now. In fact, I just got my CSA box yesterday. I'm so excited because I got a big box of veg. But a lot of the seasonal produce happens to be those that are richer in fluid intake, as opposed to more starchier veg, which are more of your fall, winter kind of vegetables. So what people migrate towards cooler foods. I know when I'm cooking for my family, I don't want the heat in the kitchen. You know what I mean? It's like air conditioning's working hard enough. So the last thing you want to do is be warm yourself and then create heat in your kitchen. So if you have a grill, and I appreciate the fact that everybody does not have one, they might have to do all of their cooking inside. You want to take a look at, first of all, take a look at your week and find out what day of the week, and that's different for everybody, you might be able to carve out the most amount of time. Why? Because you want to take advantage of the coolest time of the day. For most people, that's going to be earlier in the morning. So again, if you don't have that grill, whatever protein, I always tell people, if you're cooking, cook more than what you need. Cook once, eat it twice, 3 times, 4 times, whatever it takes during the week. So you can cook a bunch of chicken breasts early in the morning when the heat's down, or maybe later in the evening when the sun has set. Make sure it's properly refrigerated, tuck it away, coldest part of your fridge, which many of you know is going to be the, your lowest part of your refrigerator, and incorporate that into meals throughout the week. So you can have these nice, cool, refreshing chopped salads with grilled chicken, or you can make, you can grill some steak if you eat steak, and keep that tucked away and make, I haven't made it so far this season, but muffaletta. Are you guys familiar with muffaletta?
No,
Sort of a
I'm
New
not.
Orleans Italian-based sandwich with olive, or you can do peppers. There's lots of variation to it, but it lends itself fabulously to cool, lighter summer eating, because the meat is cold already, and you can pick whatever meat you want. You could do pork, you could do flank steak or chicken, and you just create this sandwich out of it with some seasonal veg. And usually the trademark of that is that olive, I think tapenade type thing that you use as a condiment on top of it. But you see, the point is cook more than what you think you need. Keep it cool, keep the heat out, and then you can eat from it during the week. If you've got a grill, that makes life a little bit easier, because then the heat obviously will be kept outside, but still cook more. Don't go bananas. You don't want to be wasteful, but cook more than what you need and stuff that in your fridge.
You know what you remind me of? When I was a teenager in my 20s, actually in my 30s, and in the summer we'd play basketball.
Uh-huh.
And when we stopped and we're over, a ham and cheese hero sandwich. I don't know. I could eat, like a whole hero, like a whole Italian bread with ham and cheese and, Gatorade, and that was it.
Well, see, there's many things we can do in our 20s that we can't do now.
I can't do it now.
But
You can have half a
sadly,
ham and cheese, that's okay.
it's just, but people I mean, this time of year, I mean, I know for myself, when we look at data from grocery stores and markets, there is an uptick in salad-based groceries. We're able to tell this, and it doesn't surprise me. We do tend to, and this is all of us, eat less during the summertime. Every time we eat food, there's not a big uptick, but there's an increase in our body temperature. It might be only a degree or two. It's not a tremendous amount. So if you think about it, it's almost instinctive for us to want to eat less, because we're trying to not have that spike in our body temperature. We're trying to keep it at a lower point. So salads lend themselves nicely to it. I think I told you guys I got picked up my CSA box, which is my my share of my veggie share. Do you guys know what this thing is? This gadget?
Lettuce, is that for lettuce?
Salad-
You can make,
Yeah,
you
salad
spin, a
spinner.
lettuce spinner.
Twirler?
Yes. This thing is great. Why? Because, you guys know I'm sort of queen of take advantage of a little bit of pocket of time and do as much prep ahead as you possibly can for your busy week. And it will serve you well to make sure you're eating healthy things throughout the week. So rather than coming home from work and having to clean a bunch of vegetables, many folks run out of steam at the end of the day. Use one of these gadgets. You don't have to, but I will tell you, they're super inexpensive to get one. You put the greens in here, you load it up with some water, you dump out the water, and then what the salad spinner does, just like the name indicates, it removes any of that surface water from the leaves, because the leaves with water on, water is not the friend of most produce. It's going to cause wilting and mildew and things like that. So you remove the water, wrap it in a clean tea towel, stick it in your fridge, your veggie crisper, and you're good to go for the week. Nice, cool, refreshing meal with veg, and the work's done ahead of the time.
Yeah, well, I don't know about food, but what I was thinking about when we're thinking about this, this running in the heat, is that, or walking in the heat, which that's my major exercise, walking and running, is to change my clock. In other words, if I'm out by 8, 9 o'clock during this time of the year, I try to get out by 7 o'clock and wake up that hour earlier, and it's a major difference. Two things: the temperature is cooler, and also the sun is not as high.
Absolutely.
Should
And I
people,
find out when the sun is at an angle coming up, it's not as bad as when it becomes, when you get to 10, 11 o'clock, forget about it.
Right.
should people go to the gym? I mean, people have underlying medical conditions that the heat would make it even worse for them if they're running. Do you suggest if they belong to a gym to do workouts in the summer inside in your gym?
The flat answer is any way you can keep up your exercise and activity level, do it. Now, generally, I would say, with the exception of people who really should be avoiding, particularly with that very high humidity, that's not an option for them because they can't go out because it causes problems with their breathing. For everybody else, everything from benefits to circadian rhythm, beating the heat, like you mentioned, Malcolm, staying with your routine, stressing your body a little bit. There's some data out there to suggest, and they're looking more and more closely at this. If you're sitting in a constant temperature all day long, so air conditioning in your house, into your air conditioned car, into your air conditioned gym, grocery store, office, whatever, your body doesn't go through this wonderful adaptive way of adjusting to that. So there's some suggestion that if you stress it a little bit in extreme temperatures, either heat or cold, that there may be health benefits to it. So again, I'm not suggesting this for everybody. I'm simply saying if you're otherwise healthy, don't be a little fearful of getting out there in a little bit of heat. Go out just like you do, Malcolm, a little bit earlier, certainly earlier in the morning or later in the afternoon to avoid that high heat. If you really struggle with being out in the heat, particularly when it's humid, you have two choices. If you do belong to a gym, they're usually air conditioned. So that controlled environment is a great way to maintain your usual routine. You might find that you're a little more lethargic. Most people are in a little bit of heat. That's okay. Take that into consideration. The other alternative is find something online. We've discussed a lot of the ways for people to maintain their exercise or start an exercise program right from their own homes. So for individuals who really have a hard time getting out, there's always that option to stay conditioned to do what you can without putting yourself into the extreme heat. And hydration obviously is important. We said water is best, but you can do things like coconut water, which are have more electrolytes. Some people like that flavor. You can do peppermint infused water. Peppermint has that menthol, so that's its cooling side. So people might find that to be refreshing. And then, and I feel like people have mixed feelings about aloe. So aloe, people use it topically for skin issues, burns, either sunburn or in the kitchen. Some people have an aloe plant, but it's long been used internally also to help with hydration. So 2 tablespoons of the gel, of aloe vera gel, mixed into your water beverage is actually a great way to make a hydrating, nice cooling drink to have. So these are all different options if you are not a huge fan of plain water. And again, if you're perspiring a great deal, you want to keep track of replenishing those electrolytes.
How about cactus?
I guess cactus would work.
I had someone on one of my other shows, and he lived in, the Southwest, and they would use cactus, the flesh of cactus.
Tequila.
So
well, they would use it sometimes for food and drink, for that.
So to mix it into like water or
they would use it for water, and also to cook, or also to have as a, it's pretty, was very interesting. So I figured I'd ask you about that.
Well, I'll have to look at it. Well, listen, he sounds like he would know. There's not a whole lot of cacti here in.
I know, but in other parts of the country, for those of you out in the Southwest where you hear Courtney on
I want to hear from you.
Send some cactus information.
Cactus recipes.
Right.
Cactus recipes.
How about the clothing? Because they have clothing now. I know I have running clothing, and I forget the name of the materials, but it lets the sweat out.
Yes. UV protective factor clothing, so UPF. And thank you for bringing that up, because although we're talking about foods and beverages, when you're exercising out in the heat, if you can get out before the sun comes up, that's great, but most of us can't do that all the time. And the clothing is highly protective. It used to be just hats. Coolabar is a brand, Athleta has it. There are many brands out there now. Coolabar happens to be the one that's been out for the longest. So it's beyond hats. It's this wonderful clothing. So not only is it wicking, meaning it's moving that perspiration away from you to help your internal air conditioning working, but it also has it woven into the fabric to prevent UVA and UVB rays making its way to your skin. So look for those as an option. If that's not in your budget, or it's not something that you're into, generally anything that's lighter material will do the trick. Or try to obviously sunscreen and staying out of the high heat of the day when the sun is highest in the sky. But the material, the UPF clothing is really taking off. I'm getting a lot, people ask about it. Of course, I ask my sister all the time about it. She's the dermatologist. So it's very popular now.
Right. Well, that's why they have siestas in Europe and other parts of the world during the really, really intense heat. They try not to work. They hang out, or they sleep, or they eat, during that time. And
this was old Europe. This was Europe when
no, it's not old Europe, man. I've been in Europe a few years ago, before COVID, still doing it.
Because basically people don't work close to home anymore. It was when people work close to home, they could go home for a lunch, eat a big lunch and take a siesta, for an hour or two, and then they could come back and they could work later in the evening. They could work till 8, 9 in the evening because the sun was up. But now they're in the city.
Now they're
Yeah.
in their own houses and homes. It doesn't even
Yeah.
take a siesta in your house. I mean,
But you can't at the office.
you
Yeah,
know,
the office
what?
hours would be strange, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well, because I
Well,
remember the first time I went to Europe, well, I'm going back to the 70s. They take a longer lunch, but they work till 8, 9 o'clock at night because the sun is up that late. This is like England, but Paris,
Right.
that area.
right.
And
Yeah.
but they worked close to home. They were within, they could go back to home for lunch
right.
versus like just eating at a
You
restaurant.
mean they're not going to the gym during their really extended lunchtime?
Not then. Now they do it.
I don't know. I know. I think restaurant business is different. They shut down for a few hours during the after the lunch crowd, and which makes sense. I guess they're also prepping, but they're also in their wherever they are, they're eating, they're hanging out, and then they go back
Right.
to preparing for dinner.
Yeah,
So I think there's something to it. But dinner is late. Yes, dinner is late in Europe.
I remember the first time I was in England and the pubs would close at 2:30. And I'd say, why are you closing at 2:30? They said, well, if we didn't close at 2:30, the workers would come in, they would drink till 5 o'clock. 2:30, they have to leave.
Kick
Go
them
back to
out.
work.
Yeah, kick them out. That's an idea. I see yogurt there. Is that something you're?
Yeah. Before we get the hook, because I know Malcolm's getting close to, speaking of kicking out, I know I'm going to get my time.
We have 4 minutes left.
All right, I'll talk fast then. So, other cooling fun, again, you don't shy away from hot foods at all. You may want to incorporate some spice just to kind of help your body along. But yogurt, or if you don't do cow's milk, you could do a plant-based yogurt as well. So not only is it obviously cold or cool, but it has wonderful probiotics. So very, filling, and there's a liquid base to it, so it contributes to hydration. I always think for people, like sometimes they just don't feel like having, a big breakfast anymore. Protein smoothies, best case is to make your own. With whatever kind of yogurt you want, fresh fruit, maybe some chia seeds. It's a great fresh berries. It's a great way to start your morning in a pinch. I think for some people, the meal replacement idea is great in a pinch and it's very convenient. If it's a matter of, nothing or a meal replacement, I see, certainly grab them. And there's all different types. I happen to like this one brand, Orgain, but there are others out there. And keep them on hand, maybe keep them in your fridge, or because this is the packs, the Tetra packs that are fine at room temperature. Until you open them, you can keep them on hand so that, again, they don't have to be icy cold, but I will say they're a little bit more refreshing that way. But it's a great way to get a little bit of protein in there, getting, decent amount of protein, fiber, because in some case like this one, there's actually some fiber to it, vitamins, minerals, in some cases probiotics. It's not a bad way to get, again, hydration and some protein in the morning, all in the same type of meal.
Yeah, Courtney, what happens to your body? I know, again, going back to my teenage years and my 20s, when I come in from playing ball, we're really tired, I could drink a pint to a quart of milk. I mean, literally, I'd open up the container, drink from the container, drink the whole thing, and it felt great. Now, if I take a milk in my coffee, my stomach gets upset. What happened?
Well, we do become more lactose intolerant as we get older. That's natural and normal. Less so when we're younger, so that might be part of it for sure. I didn't know if you meant just like because you like the cold, refreshing side of that, or if it was, you just wanted anything cold, like
No, I like the cold, refreshing parts of it. It was really,
yeah.
it was. I looked forward to it.
Well, maybe have a smaller glass now.
Well, nah, you know what? Hey, Malcolm, open up a lemonade stand. That's the best way to go, I think. That's what I do. We'll instead of the
It's your
kitties,
turn
we'll do
again.
it.
I'm Max, because now you have to lead us out.
It's my turn.
You're our leader now.
I'm not the leader. I'm leading out. So instead of leading in, But we're finished with this terrific episode. So everyone stay tuned. It'll be put up on all the websites. So at this point, it is really good to have Courtney on health. Thanks for joining us. To get more info, follow Courtney on her Facebook page, Courtney on Health on Instagram at CLG Wellness. Visit our website, CourtneyGravenese.com. For more shows, go to MalcolmPresents.com and theManyShadesOfGreen.com. So here we are, Courtney on Health, smart, sound nutrition, strong, safe fitness. And we'll catch you again next time.
Yeah.
See you next time. Have a great week, everyone.
And Courtney, you know something? You should be busy on a 24/7 basis of advising people, because I mean, if
No sleep for you.
right, we should talk to the president. You should become part of an advisory board to keep
All right.
people healthy.
I like it.
All right. Sounds good to
Anyway,
me.
thanks.
Take
And
care.
we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.